Welcome back, everybody. With yesterday being Valentine's Day, I think it only appropriate for us to go ahead and honor the women of our lives. So today's show is the women of punk. Not really sure where to begin, so I just kind of jumping all around. I could go in chronological order, but reality is I'm just throwing it against a wall and see what you guys think. Uh, First person I thought of would have been Joan Jett. You know, early, Runaways, and then going on to her solo career with the Blackhearts. Um, I should probably go ahead and mention the rest of the band, but I think Jones, she's the one. She stayed within the scene. And she's still rocking. Today. Um, Lita Ford, she went on to be more of the metal genre as opposed to Joan. Just she kind of always stuck true to what she was doing. After the rise of her popularity, she went on to produce some great albums. She produced the Germs album GI, which which gave us Pat Smear, later of Nirvana and the Foo Fighters. Think certainly, Joan Jett is worth a mention on the list. Right around that same time, if we cross over to the UK, we get the ladies Viv Albertine and Polystyrene and Ari Up of the Slits. Ari Up being actually the stepdaughter of John Lydon, but that obviously came later. The Slits bring on Budgie as a drummer, who later becomes drummer for Susie and the Banshees and the Creatures, and Budgie really a great ad for the Slits because he was heavy into the dub reggae stuff. I think it's worth mentioning that the Slits, they were messing around with that dub sound well before the Clash, well before the Specials, Madness, and any of those bands. So, and really, without the Slits, do we have the Go Go's or the Bangles? I'm not sure. Do we have Kathleen Hanna of Bikini Kill, La Tigra, Julie Ruin? I'm not sure that we do without them. Or we do, and they're just all completely different. And I think the Slits certainly would have been a huge influence on all of those bands. Around that same time, one of my personal favorites, Susie Sue, she formed a band with Steve Severin, who she wound up staying with the Banshees for some time. Robert Smith replaced him for a little bit, but the Susie. I don't know. If you go through my record collection today, probably the largest, the person that's probably the biggest part of my collection would be Susie, maybe along with the Pixies, which also give us Kim Deal, who I didn't even think of for my list today. Another person I wanted to mention that I think is just an absolute badass, is so punk rock. Sinead O'Connor. You don't typically think of her as a punk per se, but come on, what is more punk rock than going on national television, tearing up a picture of the Pope and calling him the enemy? It's 10 times more hardcore than throwing a chair through a TV or out a hotel window. You got to give credit to Sinead O'Connor. Amazing voice, amazing soul that just, I mean, I don't think she ever gave up on her own voice. Uh, Debbie Harry, certainly early in the CBGB days. Um, I know she certainly became much more pop later, but she was part of that early CBGB scene. Another one, Chrissy Hind of the Pretenders. Another one that a lot of people don't think of as, as punk, but I mean, she was there. I mean, she was a writer for NME. She was hanging out with the Clash and the Pistols before any of them were anybody. Worked at Malcolm McLaren's store, Sex. She was there. Brilliant singer, songwriter, and poet, and just all around amazing person to have on our list. Uh, Kim Gordon of Sonic Youth. I don't think I need to elaborate. I mean, so many different versions of Sonic Youth throughout the years, with their early stuff being just noise, to their later stuff actually having, I don't want to say a pop element, but certainly to the point to where they're you know mainstream enough to make it onto the Cool World soundtrack. So Tina Weymouth, Talking Heads, Tom Tom Club, another person that I just adore, or heavily influenced by that dub reggae sound. The bass line she created, both in Talking Heads and Tom Tom Club, heavily sampled, and will live on for eternity. Um, Annie Lennox of the Eurythmics, certainly, you know, I mean, certainly has the pop look early on. Later on, you can put, I will put her voice up against any of the pop divas. And I think she will hold her own. She's amazing. Uh, we want to fast forward a few years, not too many years actually. Go to Athens, Georgia, with the B-52s, Kate Pearson, Cindy Wilson. I mean, who didn't have a crush on her? She was awesome. Certainly changed the sound of college radio, and huge influences through the scene. Um, the Go-Go's certainly started off as a ska, punk ska band. Became a bit more mainstream after they all learned how to play their instruments, but certainly deserve a spot on my list. I'm not sure about yours, but absolutely. Another one who, if you are talking about females in the punk scene and Christy Marlana Wallace is not on your list, your list is not worth talking about. AKA Poison Ivy, the guitarist for the Cramps, Mrs. Lux Interior. Just, I mean, yeah, and now with the renewed popularity of the Cramps, Goo Goo Muck, in the new Wednesday series. I'm hoping that the Cramps are getting a lot of streams and she's getting some residual income from that. They certainly deserve it. I will always love Poison Ivy. I'll always love the Cramps, and they're just, in my book, the absolute coolest. Going a little bit more obscure, but somebody that's certainly very, very influential. Um, Most people don't know the band Throbbing Gristle, Cozy Fanny Tootie. Um, Most of us in the scene know who she is, know who Throbbing Gristle and Chris and Cozy were, but another artist that you know, while many people have no idea who she was or who her bands were, if you look at pretty much every industrial act from Nitzareb, Front 242, I mean, you name it, they all name Throbbing Gristle as an early influence to them becoming a band. And without Throbbing Gristle, we actually don't even have Depeche Mode. So I know it's hard for a lot of people to connect the two, but that's the timeline. That's the family tree. Throbbing Gristle, influenced bands like Daniel Miller's The Normal, who created Mute Records, who brought us Depeche Mode. I do want to go a little bit more modern here, coming into current music with St. Vincent, Annie Clark, just the absolute queen of the fuzzbox. So many great guitar riffs. She's incredible. I was talking to our good buddy Marcus Cora. Most of us in the scene here in the Palm Beaches know him. He wanted to add two people to the list, and Brody Dale of the Distillers and Kim Shattuck of the Muffs. And I gotta say, I can't agree more. Names certainly worthy of the list. Oh, I'll leave you with a question. Who is on your list? Who am I forgetting? Who is worthy of a mention of, punk rock, women of punk rock? And love to hear your opinions and comments. Certainly not saying this is the end all be all list, but it's my list, and it's the best you're going to get with 15 minutes of research before a show. I thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you again next week.